Welcome back to the Midnight Who Show, and tonight I'm going to be reviewing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, James Gunn has crafted a really satisfying conclusion to his trilogy. In this film, the Guardians of the Galaxy are racing to save Rocket after an attack from Adam Warlock, and this just leads them right to the High Evolutionary. Now, like I said, this is a really satisfying film. I absolutely enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it a lot more than the second film. It has all of the James Gunn humor you would expect, and some of it worked for me, and some of it just did not. I think some of them went on a little too long. But I really did enjoy all these worlds that we explored with the Guardians in this film, and it was just really cool visuals. It was just an awesome ride, but it was also very emotional at times, with this being the conclusion. The hardest part of this film to watch is Rocket's backstory. It's really emotional, but it also deals with the theme of animal testing. It really exposes the cruelty that can be done to these animals during this process. The High Evolutionary takes really nothing. He does not care, and it really shows. And I know for a lot of people that's going to be a hard watch, and they got to know that going into this film. Now, for me, I understood that this was not real, that these was CGI animals. So it helped a little. I was like, okay, this is really tough to watch, but at least they're not real. For James Gunn to go to that length, though, and actually show it, that was really just a bold choice. And I gotta tell you, the most deepest, darkest part of it to me was actually Floors, the little bunny rabbit, because they have like these spider legs, and it was just like, oh boy, yeah. So it's hard to watch, and especially when they put them in the tubes, you'll see that in the film. Oh, it gets a little tough at times, but it really shows where Rocket came from, and I'm really glad that they explored it. Now, Counter-Earth is a really interesting society of anthropomorphized animals. I kind of call it like Zootopia. And it's really interesting to see how much it's like Earth, and it's very interesting to explore, and I wish we got a little bit more time with it, but it did lead to the hilarious scenes with Nebula trying to get into the car. Moving on to the High Evolutionary, who created Counter-Earth and experimented on these animals. I absolutely despise this villain. This is a true villain. There is no redemption at all, and the performance was phenomenal. You absolutely just hate this character throughout this movie. There's some parts that just kind of don't work with it because, they do talk a lot, but it is just a really good villain. This pure evil. Adam Warlock is also in this film, as hinted by the end of the second film. And I can really see why people wouldn't like this character. They're basically not the smartest person on Earth. They're very, naive. They don't really understand their powers whatsoever. But that kind of makes sense because of what it's hinted at. They were pulled from the tube way too early. They're basically like a newborn, and they're really just learning about this world. And that, to me, really explains a lot of the motives behind this character in this film. And besides, you can kind of start seeing growth of this character by the end of this film. And I think that's really good. So it's showing that Adam is not always the same. He's growing. So overall, I really enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It is a really satisfying conclusion. I really have enjoyed just seeing these characters grow on the big screen. There's so many great moments in this film. And I want to talk about just a little spoiler here for a second. So if you don't want to hear that, you can leave the video right now. I was also really happy that with Gamora and Peter, they didn't get them back together by the end of the film. It was a more mature showing that Peter understood that he had to kind of move on. And for Gamora, it's kind of understanding that, well, she can understand how a version would probably like him. Now, this version of Gamora is very much like their personality in the first film. None of the Guardians of the Galaxy die. And I think that was a really good choice because it really gave them all a happy ending, and we get to see them move to new things in life. And it kind of also sets up a little bit more of the future for new directors and storytellers to tell stories featuring these characters. And I'm really curious to see what happens in the future. That's it for tonight. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, everyone.